Hi everybody, my name is Reynaldo Quintero. Welcome to a new video tutorial. This time I will talking about hair, how to draw hair and what to avoid in order to make an effective, drawing. And first I would like to show you, this is our drawings that we have here is, as you can see, a bold lady, and we're gonna use her as the base for this tutorial. And one of the first things I want to talk in before digging into the hair is that, um, we have to consider one thing, and it's simple. The hair grows from the skull, and there's an area where it grows. That area will be all this area in green. If you see somebody who has a very tight haircut, you'll see this shape, and from there the hair will grow. Some people have less or more depending on the character, but this is kind of like the standard. Okay, this is where the hair will grow. Next, I would like to explain that, to make clear this, because I think not many people talk about this and it's really important. And it is that when we draw a character and we go ahead and we start, especially if we are learning, we start drawing the character and we place these features where we think they're gonna be. If you have construction, then it's good. But if you are new and you start learning how to draw, you can go easily into the problem of drawing the hair really close and to the head. And let me make this beautiful drawing a little bit more appealing. Okay, and if you're learning, then you'll see it's very easy to fall into this. It happened to me. Is that you draw the character or you draw the face, the things that are already used to it, to draw it like how it should be drawn. So I'm trying to draw in a very crappy way. So let's see, you draw the face, and then you have the face, but then you start drawing the hair, and then you start drawing the hair, but you forget about the mass of the character. That the face, the head there's a mass of skull, and then you have the face, jaw, and all that. Like I explained on the head construction. But many people forget about this, the roundness, the mass of the skull, and it can lead to many problems. I have a lot of problems with that, because I finished my drawings. I'm like, this is not looking good. But after looking and learning and checking it out, I understand to keep those things, think about that, when you draw. This issue can affect any artist regardless the skill. I'll show you these drawings that you might know from Sakimi Chan. She's a great artist and everything. I love her rendering style, beautiful characters, but I couldn't help noticing that this illustration there was something wrong that was bothering me, and somehow it connects with this tutorial. And is that you might have a great illustration, but it can go wrong pretty quickly if you don't think about the mass of the skull. And especially on this one is the one that bothers me the most. Is that everything is perfect, perfect. But the skull of this character is almost non-existent. You see, there's a mass. You have to draw the skull of the character, and you have to keep the mass consistent of the drawing. So for me, I was like, okay, this character is missing all that. Everything is perfect, but notice how there's a lot of skull missing there. So basically, the hair should be growing from here, and it feels more complete. It feels like it makes more sense instead of As you can see, she's missing a big chunk. And it can happen to everybody. It happened to me a lot. But I keep in mind that all the time it's like, like kicking myself like, oh, okay, remember to do that properly. And on the side, there's a other way. Like she has too much. Take into consideration the angle of the face. Just looking a little bit on this direction, a little bit like looking down. Then we have to create, let's say, the mass of the skull too, as well, proportionate with the proportion of the face. And as you can see here, the character, well, first the character has too much. It's like the skull of this character is going like this. It feels like that when you don't see that. It feels good because it has a lot of mass, but somehow the three-dimensionality is lost when you have this center line that should go this way and then it goes that way. And then you have all this mass of hair. So those things you have to keep in mind. It can be too much or it can be too little. So how can we keep control and how can we avoid this? And let's go back to our drawings here. So as I said, this is the area where the hair grows, and then the next step is to have a separation. Let's say you have your skull, and then why not draw a little bit like outside of the skull? Let's say she had like a mohawk kind of thing. Use like an estimate of the separation from the skull. But keeping it rounded, keep it rounded because the head is rounded, therefore the hair will be affected by how you render the mass of the hair. Okay, so that's one thing. Keep that separation, and then you'll see like once you have that separation, then when you draw the hair on top, it makes much more sense. It feels feels solid. It feels the skull is there. It feels that there is a mass of the hair. You don't want the hair to be too close. You don't want the hair to be like this. Start feeling weak. Start feeling weak. Start feeling like weak, like she's bald. So we have to avoid those things by having that extra separation there. Okay. Don't forget about that. That's the first thing about drawing hair. Okay, so we're gonna start the concept of drawing the hair. First, think about the skull as a sphere, and let's divide that sphere this way. Okay, and by doing this, you will notice that we are describing form, and this form is pretty necessary to start drawing the hair. The hair is growing from the sphere of the skull. It has to follow the direction and the form. Notice how like in the back it gets closer and closer, and in the front it's more wide. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that plane change, plane change. This is the sphere, this is center. There's this direction and then this direction. Okay, you only have to know when to start turning the direction, start turning, and when to turn, it will be dictated by the center lines of the hair. Those will be here, the divisions. Okay, the red divisions, and the hair will grow from the divisions I was talking about. So let's say the hairs are going this way, and then here change direction. Okay, so that will read that it feels like like there's a mass and it's going around, you know, like this. The only difference is that, well, I'm cutting here. I'm making cuts on that surface. Okay. Well, now that we have this, I want to explain. Well, I think I jumped a little bit ahead, so I'm gonna go back and talk about the hair itself. And it depends on the style of the person, but I feel that hair it will never be a straight line. It will never be a straight line unless you have a very sharp design. And even then, I don't know, hair. When you think about hair, you think about thing that is flowing. You know, the commercial, like shampoo commercials. They don't show you like straight hair. Okay. But basically, the main shape for drawing hair, it will be this. This is the main, I think, the main structure that we need when drawing hair. This is like the main thing we do, but when we draw hair, we think about variations, and we think about how can if we repeat the same hair, the same design again and again, it will be repetitive, it will be boring, it won't describe hair, it will be flat. So what we need is variations. Let's say we have that one that is big, but then there's a lot tiny chunk, tiny strand of hair that separates from that chunk. Or we have a piece of hair that goes around, you know, it turns. It's going this way, and then it turns around. This is the back side. What I like about drawing hair, what is fun about drawing hair is that when you have a point of reference, when you have a center line or and a design, and you know the hair will go that way, will start growing from that way. You can start adding, you know, different variations, make it thick, make every curve create another curve and create another piece of hair. But at the end, what you will have is a chunk of hair, a strand of hair. Okay. Well, to explain hair in a simple way, let's talk about chunks. Chunks of hair that will be placed as a helmet. Sections of hair. We can have a frontal section. We can have a frontal section here. Then we can have another section that goes from the sideburns here. Pretty typical anime. And then we have the back. And even then, here I'm drawing pretty close to the skull, so you see, keep in mind that. So if we think in chunks, then we can design the hairstyle. Once we have the chunk, we have the chunk of hair, we have a mask, we have a form. Let's say this is our form here. Then we can start breaking it down. The direction, think about the direction, how it will turn according to the shape. And we can divide it. We can divide the hair. And then we can cut. And we make single strands of hair. You know, we can start cutting. Use variations there. One big, one small. One open space. One large cut there. And then to add variation and more life to your hair, you can add an extra, you know, strand of hair just popping there. So you see how I divided just by thinking of a simple shape, a simple design. Same with many of the characters you see in anime manga has that. Then you can draw from the sideburns here. I have these pieces of hair here and here. Or you see, you have to think where the hair is growing. Probably from here will grow here. That will be the mass, and then we can add variations. We can have a small strand here of hair. Then maybe another one here. Maybe we can break it a little bit inside. Break it a little bit in the top. Maybe add another extra hair, piece of strand hair here. This will be coming from the back. But you see how the direction is dictated by the three-dimensionality of the face and the mass of the skull. Then we have another chunk which is in the back side. And it's up to you what kind of a hairstyle you want to do. Let's say this character has like a ponytail in the back. And well, no, let's skip the ponytail and let's make the hair straight, because I want to explain something else. We have the back side, the back shape, and that's how the hair, this is how you know when the hair will go down and then will start like falling, you know. This is the maximum, the spot where it start like curving, and then other pieces start curving too. It follows that the mass I was talking about. For variations, we can have this, because this is the back side, we can have pieces of hair that will grow and overlap in the front of the character. We can have another part that overlaps in the front of the character. Then thinking that way, you can see how I created this nice hair just by thinking about the big chunks of your design. Then you later can add extra parts, you know, to make it more unique. And we can create different, as I was saying, we can create different hairstyles. Let's say from this point I want to create this mass like this, and then I want this section, I want the whole hair going back and attached to a ponytail. We can so since we have that front chunk, let's divide it: small, big, small, medium. One extra hair for variations. We can change the order as well. Everything is pointing to that side, but let's make one of the hair follow the rhythm of the head. You know, this direction that I was talking about. And you see how I start feeling a little bit more integrated. We can have another one here, or maybe not. So it's up to you. You can practice and see. You see? Then we have all these going to the back side. And here we have a ponytail, whatever the design you want to add there. And from there, we change the sense that the hair is growing from the skull. Now it's growing from the ponytail. And for that, I like to think that a tiny skull is here. A tiny circle of mass is here, and from there everything will grow. You see how by having that circle, that sphere there, create creates mass. So it feels that the ponytail is actually growing and then turning. You can make this as big, as small as you want. But notice how the hair will follow this point where it's being pulled, as well as following the shape of the skull. We talked about that already. You see? And for more design, you can add something extra in the sideburns, like something cute, like this, that wraps around. See how it wraps around the face? Let's add some variation too. Okay? So I guess the good rule is, okay, draw a chunk of hair and then add a little bit more. Maybe add another piece here. Okay? That'll make, variations in the hair. It won't feel as it's just a chunk. You'll feel like there's a chunk, but there's pieces of hair inside that chunk that are just, breaking away from the whole mass. And let's see other hairstyles that I did here. Another design. We have that main chunk. We have the side chunk here. We have all the hair going back here. And then we have the hair that is going around like this on the back. So you see how the hair wraps around. And I'm repeating probably too much, but I think it's pretty important. You don't want to have a hair that is flat and doesn't bring anything cool or new. It just feels like meh. Same with this hair. I have this separation line here for the hair, the root. See? Everything, all the lines falls back to the root. And it feels that it's growing from there. That's one. This is another one. Another design. See how this feels like it's wrapping around. And other styles are these. See how by thinking in terms of chunks of hair, you can increase the design and appeal of your design. And if you ever have figurines, anime figurines, you will see it more. You will see how they even build the figurines, like a chunk in the front, in the back, on the sides. So if you have figurines, go ahead and check your figurines. And let's see some real people, Let's see some real people and see what. Let's study from reality. Although some of things are wigs. It feels like this one is a wig. But let's go ahead and, separate this in chunks. Think about chunks. Okay. So notice, like I was explaining, all the direction is following the skull. Okay? And if we break this into parts, we can see how her hair is made of chunks. There's a big one here. And there's another one here. On the sides, seems to be a big one. And on the back side. Everything going here as a root. This one as well. It's more like the design already did. See how the chunk of hair turns at this point. And start turning. And for the back, we can think about this is more like a layered style of hair. So I'm gonna explain something more like we can have like this, sorry, this chunk here, and then this chunk. Then the hairstyle here is a different shape. It has a flow. It has a flow that grows from there, and we have the back mass, the back side of the mass. So we break it down into chunks. Do you see how it can be? It can be done simple. You can create it more a simple version of it. And this one you can see it perfectly here. Let's go with the red. It's going from the side, not the center, and from the center, from the side, start growing and start following, and then it change direction here. Toof. Then we have another layer that is under, and then we have the back side of the hair that is showing. Is that we have this, we have another one, and then we have another one. Okay, but everything is following that curve, the gracious curve, that appealing curve, soft, nice. Then we have a chunk on the sides here, and then we have the back side. Then here on this side, then things are breaking up a little bit more. If you can break it down and make it more simple, then you'll understand. This is a realistic hair, so it doesn't have that design there perfectly. But I wanted you to understand how the hair just grow from there, and you can break it into different chunks. You see? Because the rest, it will be just breaking it down and adding pieces, extra pieces, you know, to the sides or inside, have more breaks inside the hair or outside the hair. Think about those things. Think about having that chunk and then break the design with chunks outside, and then strands outside and strands inside, you know. So everything is divided and it has variations. Don't repeat this. Make sure that you have one big, one small, one big on the other side, one slightly larger, then we have a big one, and then we have a small one. Don't repeat the same design again and again. You don't see it here. You don't see it like in here. So don't do it. Okay. So that's in reality. You can go ahead and try it with different photos of hairstyles and try to break it down as I did. It's a good exercise to think about it, or try to go ahead and look for anime characters and break it down, and that way you will learn. Okay. And since I have this already here, I would like to talk about a little bit about highlights and how to render the hair. And the highlight is the spot where the light hits the hardest on the surface. Okay? Same here. It hits hardest in the surface. And since the head is rounded, as I've been telling so far, you will notice that the highlight of this character just goes around in this area. This will be the highlight area. Same here. See how this is the area that has the most highlights. There's all the highlights, but like mostly here in the front. Here you can see it on this side and on this side. Okay. So if I draw a piece of hair like this, I'll think that because this is a surface that is pointing the most on this side, and light will hit here, and this is where my highlight is gonna be. Now, same with the chunk of hair, you have to add variations to the highlights of your hair. So it depends how you want to do the highlights. I think this is the area where you can play with your style a lot in highlights. Some people do as I did there. Some people just do like circles. Some people do more like the really small variations like this, kind of describing that this is the highlight of many pieces of hair. That's why there's like a lot of break. When it's like a circle, it feels more like solid, like a helmet, more like like a solid helmet. And what else? We can think about the highlights. Yeah, I don't know. Like you can use different styles. It can be like more like just by blending colors. Doesn't have to have that a certain shape. It can be just like how the color change the how the color change from the darker to light. So you can use that for the highlights, as you can see here. Everything is breaking down probably too much because it's a photo, and when you draw manga you try to reduce the amount of breaks because you're doing animation and you want to have a style and you want to integrate that. So this is the area to have fun. Highlights here. Same here, this is the area where I find highlights, and highlights I'll find here. Usually in the areas that is turning, Let's say you have this surface here, and this is the place that is turning. Then the highlight will hit there. Highlight. Okay? There are many things and many aspects to cover about hair, and that will be highlights. I'm talking about more about the drawing side than the painting side. The painting side you can play more, but thinking about that in chunks, in shapes, and things that wraps around the head, the skull, keeping the mass. Like I was saying, the mass of the skull, then you have an extra space to add the hair. Is a first step to start drawing the hair. I will definitely recommend practicing, seeing other artist styles, hairstyles that you like. Start seeing real photos. Try to break it down as I did. Do some renderings of hair. That's how I learned most of it. Like nobody was teaching me how to do the hair, but I did some renderings in pencils, using pencils, and then I that's how I kind of learn like where to place the highlights for the character, for the drawings, any drawings you are doing. And that will be the part of the highlights right now. Hope you like this, and I'm gonna move to another point that I want to talk, and that point is gravity. Okay, we already talked that, okay, this is the mass of the skull, and then from here all the hair will fall, and they fall down because, gravity is there. But what happens when the hair, let's say, touch another surface and it's resting on the table, it's resting somewhere, and we need to think about how it will rest. Let's say that here we have a plane like this, and the hair is way longer. Let's say the hair is this long. Then the hair will have to fall, and it will start bending and turning. See? Even another example, I hope this helps, is that you have a piece of hair, and think about a piece of drapery that is falling here, and then it lays on top of the object. So think about that gravity here is pulling down, so that's why we're going down, and then we go up, and we go down again. That's one example. Gravity. We can think about the hair, like the motion when you're moving. The character is moving, and we have to think about that direction. If the character, the skull, the mask is moving in this direction, that way, well, the hair will follow as a secondary aspect of the movement. If you have seen animation and reality per se, you know, if the character is going this direction, let's put this, then the hair will flow. And well, if it's windy as well, but every time I draw hair, I think about where is the root. I need a point, a reference point to start growing the hair. Let's see, this is here. And notice, like, because even though the hair is being affected by the flow of air or movement, there's still weight. The hair has a weight. So not all the hair will be like this, you know, like all pulled back. There will be like the lower section will start being more heavier, and then the strings or strands of hair will be more light in the front, where the air is stronger. So if one character is moving this direction, sorry, if one is moving this direction, then the hair will go that way. Sorry. Okay. So it's a thing. It's about thinking. Think about movement. Try to find photos online about movement and hair. That would be the more advanced point of drawing hair. All about movement and gravity and how the hair reacts to surface, to another surface, or even in the shoulder. If it's resting in the shoulders or or in the surface like a bed. Think about that. Think about how the surroundings will affect the hair. And if it's moving, if it's moving this way, we'll go this side like this. So you see the hair. Let me try to get close. This is not the best drawing ever. But if you have a circle here, this is the face. This is the face. And it's moving this direction. Let's say that there's a root here. He has a root. And then from here, the hair will start flowing. This is a very strong wind, you see. Even the hair will overlap on top of the face. But as I say, there's still some weight. So some of them will point down, and then at a certain point it will start pointing up. But always thinking about that root point. Well, this is a dude now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point here is just like think about gravity, think about the weight of the hair, think about the highlights, think about overlapping in front or back of the character, think about the design you're gonna have, and yeah, think about those things when you draw hair. Think about the origin point, think about the source, where it grows, where is the root, and then from there grow that. Think about the sphere inside the skull. Think about the skull and think about the mass. Mass is probably the most important, and saying that last, but mass is probably the one that you have to keep the most. You have to think about the most. Okay, guys, well, this concludes this tutorial so far. There's more things to talk about about hair and movement and all that, but I think this is a good point to stop a little bit so you can watch it again. And if you have any questions, you can contact me through Patreon, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Also, I would like to thank you for supporting these videos and supporting new content and supporting my work on Patreon, buying prints, getting my sketchbooks and all that. I'm really happy and I'm excited because I'm doing these tutorials and I'm relearning and trying to figure out a way to teach you, what I know so far. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, let me know. Keep rocking, keep watching videos, go back and sit down and get your pen, your paper, and start drawing all night and get the hair like amazing. Get amazing hair, even if you're bald. Okay? Rock and roll. Thank you.